G'day legends, this is Ayden and James from Twin Elements, and today we're here at Venture Hunting HQ in Springwood, Brisbane, running through our butchering setup. Obviously, as hunters and outdoors people, when we go out and with the goal of taking an animal, one of the most important things is that field preparation and meat care out in the field. So what I like to do is have a meat care kit assembled, or a bit of a kill kit, what I like to call it, and it starts with something that's easy and I can just grab it straight out of my backpack. Something like this, a nice easy duffel bag that fits a lot of the gear, is integral. Within that, I like to have just a set of gloves for hygiene, as well as knives. I also like to run my binder harness, which will often have like a Havalon or a single small knife like this, but just for today's purpose, we're going to put it all in the meat kill bag. I also like to have my game bags in there as well. I love the Agali ones just for their breathability, as well as their size options. They've got small, medium, large, which means you can put back straps in there, tenderloins, ribs, hind legs, necks, everything like that. Really break down an animal. You'd probably even be able to fit a small goat or something like that, a small deer, in their larger game bags.
A few extra bits of kit that we like to carry. So if you're going out on something that we like to call a meat mission, when you're especially just targeting a few game animals like some goats or some pigs or some deer, a few extra items that we like to carry is a little bone saw. So this is great for getting sections like the ribs where you want to cut along the edge of the spine, or if you're going to make something like tomahawk steaks, perfect for that. Lightweight and just fits in your backpack. The next thing that we like is a lightweight tarp, or just like a 10 footprint, something that you can lay out on the ground and keep all your meat nice and clean. Equally with the Agali bags, the cords are really strong, and so you can be doing quartering and stuff like that, put them in the bags and then hang them up in the trees, and that's just to keep everything as clean as possible, no dirt, no grass, and obviously take care of the appearance of the meat so that if you're going to be serving it up to other people at home, it looks as best and presented as best as you possibly can. So this is our sort of complete range, I guess, for when we're butchering out in the field, and we can break down anything from a water buffalo down to a rabbit with this sort of setup, and be able to retrieve all this meat and take it home with us to share with family and friends.
One of the benefits of gear that you can use for multiple situations is essential, especially as outdoorsmen, just saving on weight in the backpack. This lightweight tarp sort of option that we've got, you can string above you for if you're glassing on a mountainside and it starts drizzling down with a light bit of rain, attach it to, some trees, some trekking poles, whatever, tie it off, and you've got like a nice waterproof cover. And then the same thing, if you are successful, you do have an animal on the ground, you can lay it down as a nice 2x2 meter area, put your animal on top of that, and then field dress it, do all the meat care as is required. And one of the biggest things with meat care is that you just want to prevent dirt, hair, any blood, any milk, anything like that from touching the actual meat that you're taking home itself. So always pride yourself on cleanliness when out in the field, and just having an organized meat kit, kill kit as I like to term it, is just going to be, something that keeps you on the right track to making sure that the animal that you harvest goes home to family and friends as a nice presentable piece of meat and protein.
So the first thing when we're butchering that we're going to do, especially on one of these meat missions, is lay out our tarp. So we're just going to be putting that on the ground, like we said, just to keep the meat nice and clean, and prevent any dirt or vegetation from getting on the meat. When it comes to butchering, there's the gutless method and the non-gutless method. I prefer the gutless method because all I want to do is take the meat that I'm going to be taking home. So that's mainly going to be the quarters, the neck meat, and then also the back straps and the ribs. So I don't really want to have the whole frame at home and have to deal with the hair and the guts and stuff like that. So what I'll be doing is quartering it, taking the two back legs without any hair on them. I like to cut them off at the hocks so that I can still hang them at home, or wherever I need to in a cool room, and hang your meat. But then also you're not having extra limbs and stuff like that, which makes it easier to fit into a backpack. I then personally remove the back straps, necks, and the ribs, and move my way up to the front to be taking the front legs and then the neck meat. So I can get all of that and then fit those quarters and also the ribs and stuff like that into my different Agali game bags, so that it's all separated, makes it easier to butcher out later on, and then fit that all into my pack, especially if it's something small like a pig, a goat, or a fallow deer. I can fit easily all the meat into my backpack. It's quite a heavy load. You're probably looking at 40 or 50 kilos, but you can carry all that meat out and fill the freezer at home, which is what it's all about.
So specifically about the meat bags, what you're looking for, like we've gone in the past from using pillowcases and things like that, anything that's going to be clean, breathable, and then obviously the certain size that allows for you to like put a back leg as like normally the larger bit of meat in there. These Agali meat bags are awesome. They're very breathable. You can reuse them, throw them through the wash, obviously clean them, make sure there's no meat or blood on them so that you're removing bacteria and stuff like that after the job's done. But as James said earlier, like these come in plenty of ranges of sizes. That's going to fit most of your quarters, from Australian deer species all the way up to probably a small buffalo or bovine species as well. And then going down to things like rabbits, hares, even small goats would fit in that quite comfortably as well, as a whole animal that you've removed the guts and offal and things like that from. Having these really great drawstrings, and again, as James said, being able to wrap them around a tree and then suspend it. The biggest thing when you're hanging meat, and particularly if you're out in the bush for a couple of days, is that you want to let air get to this, especially cool air. If you can hang it down in a nice shaded spot on a hill or by the creek, things like that, get wind to it. It's going to allow that meat to dry and set a bit of a rind to it. Make sure that you've removed all the hair and things like that, because again, as we said earlier, it's like the hair, the meat, the dirt, all those sort of things that contaminate the meat and will hold bacteria and introduce that to what you've harvested. So again, with so many different varieties of meat bags, you can sort of lay them out as you're butchering your animal. Make sure that as you go from your workstation to sort of a portable area where you're putting all the meat in game bags and ideally hanging it, because sometimes if you're butchering something like a buffalo, it might take 45 minutes to an hour to break that whole animal down. The sooner you can get your meat hanging in a nice air spot, let it breathe, is going to be better and more beneficial to that meat cooling down and setting into sort of, its process.
So as you can see, there's a lot to think about when it comes to setting up your butchering kit, but having something to put it all in is definitely going to be a huge benefit. So you know you've got it, because the biggest thing is when you're out in the field, there's nothing worse than not having your complete kit, and then you wish you had something but you left it at home. So make sure everything's organized and clean and ready to go. And yeah, it's going to be the difference between a nice, clean, easy butchering session and one where you're going to be frustrated looking for a bit of kit, or unhygienic when you're cutting up and butchering your meat.